Hello there, I'm Media Lord and welcome to my series talking about Doctor Who, where I cover every episode of the show to talk about a particular subject related to the story, and the story I'm discussing today is The Unquiet Dead. In the 40 years since it was first broadcast in 1963, Doctor Who had rarely attempted to expand the franchise with spin-offs. It was expensive and difficult enough trying to keep the main show on air, but that doesn't mean they never tried. After failing to convince her to return as Sarah Jane for the Fourth Doctor's final adventures, producer John Nathan Turner enticed Elizabeth Sladen to reprise her role for a spin-off called Canine and Company, although that title came as an unwanted surprise, with her being referred to as Company rather than by name. A pilot episode was filmed and shown on BBC One in December 1981, but the BBC didn't commission the show for a full series, and they wouldn't attempt another Doctor Who spin-off until Torchwood in 2006. Before Doctor Who was successfully revived, the seed for Torchwood had already been planted in Russell T Davies's mind, as he began to develop a science fiction crime drama called Excalibur. In 2005, he was invited to create a post-Watershed sci-fi series for BBC Three, and it was then that he decided to take his idea for Excalibur and turn it into a Doctor Who spin-off, Torchwood. An anagram of Doctor Who, Torchwood had originally been used as a fake name to protect Series 1's tapes from being stolen, before it soon took on a life of its own and became a show in its own right, after being referenced once in Series 1 and throughout Series 2. It's a completely different story than Class, which was just announced out of the blue, and would have made more sense if Jenna Coleman was starring in it as Clara Oswald, because that's the school she taught at, and we would have seen her teach there for 3 years before the spin-off aired, like how Torchwood was set up across 2 years of storytelling. Torchwood, for those unfamiliar or too young for the show, followed a team of people led by the Doctor's former companion, Captain Jack Harkness, as they acted outside the government and beyond the police, to track down alien life on Earth and protect the world from whatever threats come through the rift in space and time, because the 21st century is when everything changes. The show ran for 4 series, between 2006 and 2011, picking up a few months after the Battle of Canary Wharf, where Jack and his group of operatives are all that seemingly remains of Torchwood. However, while Torchwood isn't part of the main plot until Series 2, as the Doctor and Rose's actions lead to their separation, we can trace the setup all the way back to here with The Unquiet Dead. Thanks for making it this far. You probably guessed this is where I ask you to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the video. I've also got a Patreon and Ko-fi page for those of you interested in either making a donation or joining a membership to support the channel for early access, shoutouts, etc. Right, now I've got that call to action done and dusted, let's carry on with the video. The best spin-offs are often the ones that are unintended and exist because there's a great story to be told, not because your corporate overlords demand more content. With Torchwood being commissioned and announced by October 2005, The Unquiet Dead, as far as I'm aware, was never intended to be a backdoor pilot for the spin-off by introducing the Rift in Cardiff. The Rift is a crucial part of the story they were trying to tell in the moment, and if you take it away, The Unquiet Dead doesn't work without it, which proves that it's a vital component that isn't forced in there as mandatory setup. The Rift is what the Gelf used to access Earth and take over our dead, with Gwyneth, a psychic servant, opening it after being tricked into thinking they're on the brink of extinction due to the Time War. Her actions have a ripple effect, because while she managed to close the rift and stop the Gelf, it remains as an earthquake fault between different dimensions, which led to Torchwood 3 being formed to monitor and deal with rift activity. The actor who portrayed Gwyneth, Eve Miles, impressed the production team with her performance, so she was ultimately cast as Torchwood's protagonist, Gwen Cooper, who the Doctor later confirmed resembled Gwyneth thanks to a spatial genetic multiplicity, which essentially means, with Gwen being part of an old Cardiff family dating back to the 1800s, the Rift gave her Gwyneth's physical traits, despite the two not being blood-related. In today's day and age, every successful show has most studios looking for a way to exploit its popularity and make more money. Stranger Things, The Boys. Shows can't even end nowadays without there being confirmation of some sort of spin-off. But Doctor Who is a perfect example of how you can do it right. Call it nostalgia, but ever since I was young, I've wanted the Whoniverse to make a comeback, because when I was growing up, you had the Sarah Jane Adventures for the kids, Doctor Who for the family, and Torchwood for the adults. It was the perfect balance that allowed for new and different stories to be told, and the spin-offs came about because there was room to expand on what had already been established. However, they never came at a cost to the show itself, and I'd have rather taken those 5 episodes of the war between the land and the sea and gone back to 10 episode seasons because, let's be honest, 10 is a more realistic outcome than 13. What frustrates me lately is Russell T Davies excelled at world building during his first era. Actions had consequences, and choices caused ripples and tidal waves. So even though The Unquiet Dead isn't strictly a backdoor pilot, it does a perfect job of setting up Torchwood. At the moment, there's a lot of discussions about how The Boys Season 5 was impacted by its setting up Vault Rising, and I think there's a notable difference when you compare the two shows when it came to establishing spin-offs. But what do you guys think? Was Torchwood set up as obviously as Vault Rising? Do you think Russell had it planned earlier than we thought? Let me know in the comments below. I've been Media Lord. Until next time, goodbye.